Welcome back, everybody, to the XL Sports Network College Football Drive at 5. This is Chuck. Let's do it with Will and Ken and his Kent leg on the boards. This is brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville, coming to you live from the David Venable Studio in downtown Hawkinsville. We're taking a few weeks off because of the holidays, and then had some family issues with a family member in the hospital for the last few weeks. So we haven't been able to come to you guys, but we're excited to come in. Really, there's a lot to talk about. We have an hour to talk about it, and there's no way that we'll be able to unwrap everything that we really want to talk about during this hour. Lots and lots and lots of stuff that had happened since the last time we were on the air. I think the last time we were on the air was a week before Christmas.
Before Christmas.
Yeah, so we have a lot of bowl games to talk about. We're just going to just touch on some of these. We talk a little bit about the playoffs, about the national championship, and wow, guys, it may be the non-portion playing of the season. The other people call it the off season. There's really never an off season, it seems like, in college football, but. Wow, man, there's so much that has happened in the last, since the national championship game ended, with the portal, with coaching retirements and movements and all kinds of stuff. And it seems like every day you get on Bleacher Report or on ESPN or wherever you get your news from, Twitter or X, whatever the thing's called now. There's something breaking. Just found out that the Atlanta Falcons have just announced their new head football coach. That's a different league. We'll talk about that at some other time, I guess. Again, this is the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5. The Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville is our sponsor, along with the David Venable Studios. And just to do a shout out to the Steakhouse, a couple weeks ago, we went one of the other shows that we do on the XL Sports Network is the Saturday morning quarterback show we do every Saturday during the high school football season, where we interview 16 football coaches, high school football coaches around the state, and we had a little get together at the Steakhouse. Ken was there, Bruce Mims, our buddy Bruce, Eddie McDaniel. I had some of the coaches from the local area here that came in and hung out with us, and some great discussions. Man, I really enjoy those guys. I miss those times as a coach. Hanging around coaches, and love being able to talk to them and spend some time with them. So it was all sponsored by the Steakhouse. They treated us well. Always good food there. So you guys come out and take advantage of the Steakhouse with their awesome food. Great buffet they have there. And if you guys ever want one of the best steaks in Middle Georgia, that's where you get it. Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. All right, Will. So let's talk a little bit about the some of the bowls, some of the big bowl games.
Do it.
Man, I tell you what, it was a great season for bowls. I'll start with the Cotton Bowl, Missouri and Ohio State. It was what was that, like 3-0 at halftime, I think, and then I think Missouri came out in the second half, 14
May have been 3-0 halftime. Yeah, very low scoring game, which is not surprising considering Ohio State's good defense and their lack of offense. We'll say.
Many changes on that team. We'll talk about that as we go forward. But Missouri really showed up. I think that was really probably one of the biggest wins in that program's history. Cotton Bowl win over Ohio State, 2 top 10 teams. I don't want to hear that Ohio State had all these players opting out. You know what? You're still Ohio State. You still have, and in today's world, you got the NIL money, you got all that stuff, man. You got access. You had the best. You have the top 3 rosters in all of college football. So if you got a few players opting out, hey, you know what? It should be next man up. So no excuses. Congratulations to Drink and those guys over there in Missouri. They did a great job. Another great game, I thought, was Ole Miss and Penn State in the Peach Bowl. Ole Miss on top of that one, 38-25. Ole Miss is adding some stuff to their team this year. We'll try to get to a little bit of that when we talk about the portal. Other games, Georgia played Florida State. It wasn't much of a game. I really don't want to talk a whole lot about that because As you guys know, we're big Georgia fans here, but also my son graduated from Florida State, so it's kind of a sore subject with him. I really think that Florida State got shafted when it comes to the consideration for the college football playoff. I thought maybe they should have at least been in. May have been a totally different team playing. It's not the same as Ohio State. You know, when you have a few players like Ohio State did opting out, Florida State basically had the entire team opt out. So anyway, let's see. Other big games, the Fiesta Bowl, Oregon and Liberty. Really no surprise there, Will. 45-6. Oregon beat Liberty in that.
Well, it wasn't just 45-6. It was 45 unanswered after Liberty took their 6-0 lead. So
yeah,
I hope they enjoyed that lead that they had for probably, what was it, 90 seconds? I'm not quite sure, but
that was a complete beatdown. Really, that was just a reward for a group of 5 team. You know, I think they went undefeated this year, and did they go undefeated in the regular season? And,
sure did. Oh, that was a great team.
Yeah. It was,
had a great quarterback who's now in the portal, I believe.
Yeah. I think, though, if you go back and look at their schedule, they had the easiest schedule in all of college football. Their schedule was ranked number 133 in all of college football.
I mean, that's true, but again, I think they got the nod for the reason Florida State should have. They went undefeated. I mean, name a Power 5 or a Group of 5 team that was better than them. I think they beat Tulane. I think they beat SMU. I mean, outside of that, I definitely think they beat Air Force. I mean, I don't know who else you're looking at. I do think they were the best Group of 5 team in the country, and they just ran into the buzzsaw that was Bo Nix and the Oregon Ducks.
And, I tell you what, man, Coach Lane's doing a great job.
Oh, yes. So. Building a monster out there in Oregon.
Absolutely. And then we get the playoff games. You had Michigan versus Alabama.
Great game.
I'm telling you, it was a great game.
Fantastic game.
Overtime game, nail-biter. Bama allowed 6 sacks in that game. Isaiah Baum was the leading receiver with 47 yards. That's it. He had 47 yards receiving. Alabama had only 288 yards of total offense compared to Michigan's 351. 4.3 yards per play for Alabama, 5.9 yards per play for Michigan. Michigan really flexed their muscles defensively against Alabama, I thought. What you think?
I think so too. We were talking about this on the drive-in. I think Michigan proved and was, and all year long, the best defense in the country. Truth be told, probably the best team in the country. But I mean, they proved that when they won the whole thing. I'm not surprised that their defense played that well, especially since Jalen Milroe is not a good quarterback. Very sorry, Alabama fans. He's just not. He's scary because he can run, but I'm not terrified if he's going to sit back there and throw. He may do what he did against Texas A&M once a year, but he did it once a year. But he cannot sustain that, and I think that was proven by an elite top-tier defense in Michigan. The thing that impressed me most with them was they did not get rattled. I mean, there was several times in that game, and especially in that second half, in that fourth quarter, where they could have just quit and they didn't. Especially that 4th and 2 comes to mind with that beautiful play call to Blake Corum, I believe, in the flats, kind of run that little rub route. Great play call, great, like I said, poised by J.J. McCarthy, by that entire team just to stay in that thing and to fight. The only blemish on that game that I have is that what should have been a pick for J.J. McCarthy on the first drive of the game, and then the inexplicable kneels and timeouts at the end of regulation. Not sure what was going on there. On the 2-inch yard line where they want to kneel the ball and call a timeout on themselves, Michigan.
I didn't understand that.
Not sure what was going on there. He had a chance to make Mario Cristobal look like a genius.
And that's what I was thinking about. What is he doing?
That would have been an all-time.
Why was he calling a timeout there? I did not understand.
Losing that game in a walk-off safety would have been an all-time fumble. He would have taken all the pressure off Mario Cristobal with a terrible call like that. But they stuck it out and they finished. And I do, probably like a lot of Alabama fans, question that last play call. Of course, it was great. Of course, it was great
low
defense.
Snap, but I mean, it was a bad
Of course, it was great defense by Michigan, but if you're telling me I have to defend one thing there, what's it going to be? Jalen Milroe's not right in the middle.
Absolutely.
I've seen people say, "Oh, it was blocked. It would have been there." No, Michigan played good defense. That was not going to score. It just wasn't.
They not on that play. They weren't.
No,
they weren't. No, the back of the backfield was open on the flat.
But it was not a horrible play call, but I don't think it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a great game, and I'll be honest with
Fantastic
you,
game.
folks. I was wearing my Michigan hat, my Michigan shirt that I picked up at the Ohio State Michigan game. I had that on. I was wearing that around the house. You know, my dad was there watching it with us, and he was pulling for Alabama. So you can pull where you want to. I'm pulling for Michigan in this game. Just a great game. It's just as a college football fan, that's what you want to see.
Absolutely.
And that's what we are. Washington, Texas, another great game, and that was a game that I felt like everybody thought that Washington had that game wrapped up. The game was over,
They did.
and then here comes Texas coming back. And I was, Nate, my wife went to bed. She was watching, and she's like, "It's over, going to bed." I stayed up and watched it, and she was like, "I heard you in there yelling and screaming," but it was like, "Oh my goodness, these guys Texas almost came back and won that game." And I was also pulling for Texas in that game for other reasons, but man, that was a really good game. Michael Penix in that game looked like a Superman. I mean, he was dropping dimes. It shows what you said about Michigan's defense being the best defense in the country. The next week in the national championship game, that wasn't the case. I think
They locked up.
Well, Michigan did a lot of things against Washington. They did against Alabama. In Alabama, they put a lot of pressure on Jalen Milroe, which I thought Georgia, when they played in the SEC championship game, should have done. They didn't.
They did a horrible job.
Yeah,
Take notes. What Michigan did, that's what you need to do next year, Georgia.
That's right. Absolutely.
Exactly what they did. Collapse the pocket as a team. That's what you got to
Put
do.
pressure on the quarterback, make that guy make mistakes, and they didn't do that. Michigan did. Same thing with Michael Penix. He didn't have time to drop those dimes. That little dip he does when he drops back and dips his shoulder a little bit, he wasn't able to do that. He didn't have time to do all that. So hats off to Michigan in the national championship game. Hats off to Washington beating Texas. Before I get to the national championship game, that Texas game, I thought that there was, Texas could have won. They had a chance to win that game. I think that Quinn Ewers really kind of blew that game there at the end. There was some opportunities for him to win that. I think he didn't, but maybe why he's coming back. Good luck to him coming back. But hats off to Washington winning that one. National championship game, we'll get to that. Wow, man. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards both had over 100 yards rushing, 134 for Blake Corum, 104 for Donovan Edwards. The plays, the yards per play was almost twice as much for Michigan as it was for Washington. Mm-hmm. And like you and I were talking about, Louis, you're not going to win a game that way.
Nope, not at all. Quick note real quick on that Washington-Texas game. I disagree with one thing you said there, that Texas almost won. No, Washington almost lost.
Good point. Good point taken there.
The two things are very, very different. Washington, they had that game in hand. They could have won by 40 if they wanted to, but they did what they were prone to do this year, and they kind of just took their foot off the gas and didn't really finish well. They did enough to win, but they didn't finish well. The sort of miscues and turnover, and that crazy play where Dylan Johnson got hurt and the clock stopped and all that weird rule. I don't know, but in the end they made a good defensive play and won it. I think somebody else said this, so I can't take full credit, but I believe it was that second to last play. Maybe it was the last play. I don't know. A.D. Mitchell was open before the ball was thrown.
Yeah. If
Michael Penix is in a Texas uniform, that ball was delivered on time where it needs to be in the Texas.
That's the point I was trying to make about Quinn Ewers. And Josh and I, our son-in-law, your brother-in-law, and I talked a little bit about that early on. Hearing that it was there for them to take, and they didn't take it. So.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we're going to take a commercial break right quick. You are listening to the XL Sports Network, College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Ken's at 2 minutes. We'll be back in 2 minutes, and on the other side, we'll talk about. Welcome back to the College XL Sports Network, College Drive at 5. Again, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville, coming to you live from the David Venable Studios here in downtown Hawkinsville. Lots of stuff, Will. Let's see, other stuff we could talk about. Let's talk about some coaching movement.
Let's do it. Probably the big one.
The GOAT decided to hang it up.
Yep.
Saban retired. And my goodness, that just created a firestorm of all kinds of stuff that we'll get into. Let's just talk a little bit about Saban, about his legacy. I'll let you talk a little bit about that, and we'll kind of play off each other on that.
All right. Being the age that I am, he started there in 2007, so I was 11 years old when he started coaching at Alabama. So for
You were how old?
11 years old.
Go ahead.
Yep, 2007. So for most of, well, not most of, for all of my adult life, which is nuts, he's been that coach there. Probably as far back as I can remember, starting really getting into college football, because I was more of an NFL guy when I was younger. Didn't really get into college football until I was middle school, really more high school actually. So as long as I have had a running memory of college football, it's been associated with Nick Saban being the head coach there at Alabama. And aside from that first year where I think he went 7-5, something like that,
Yeah.
he has been nothing short of dominant. He has been, bar none, the greatest coach of all time in the sport. You can say whatever you want to about what he did or didn't do in the NFL, but when it comes to college football, he has been the greatest football coach ever. It's going to be bittersweet. It's going to be sweet as a Georgia fan, because I've been waiting on this for a while.
Yeah, we all
Every time it seems we run into that buzzsaw that is Nick Saban, then we beat him one time, and then we come right back and lose again. So it's gonna be, I guess, sweet to not have to worry about him being Georgia's kryptonite anymore. But it's sad, because we are no longer having one of the greatest, the greatest to ever do it in the sport anymore. Sports are at their best when the greats are at their best.
Absolutely.
And he's been a great recruiter, a great coach, a great
mentor for other men.
yes, great mentor, great leader, great inspirational speaker. Man, I've heard watched videos of him speaking and everything. He's been fantastic. I've heard he's been a great great husband to Miss Terry. He's just been, I think, what every college football coach wants to be. He's been the gold standard. And I think he will continue to be that for a long, long, long time. Kirby's doing some great stuff at Georgia, but if he ever wants to claim to be the GOAT, he's got a long way to go. And I mean, he will always have that sort of, yeah, you may be good, but you're only good because you came from the Nick Saban tree. So
Yeah.
Nick Saban will you can kind of, I kind of equate it to the whole LeBron and Michael Jordan thing. Michael Jordan was a huge inspiration for LeBron. So anything that is LeBron's legacy, you can kind of give some credit to Michael Jordan for too.
Wow.
I can't
believe you're saying that.
I kind of give that same thing with Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. Anything that Kirby Smart achieves, you can kind of say boosts Nick Saban's legacy some too. So I think he is, again, greatest of all time, great coach. He will be missed in Tuscaloosa. I know that for a fact. He will not be missed so much around Athens. But again, it's gonna be sad to not see him on the sideline next year, especially us going to Tuscaloosa to play him. But it's gonna be interesting to see the future of not only college football but Alabama football going forward.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say you're right on all that. I agree with all that, but I do want to say this: a lot of Kirby Smart is attributed to Sonny Smart, his dad, who was also a great football coach.
That's true too.
A great leader of men, very, very, very respected in the state of Georgia, especially in the high school ranks, and also a lot of the older college football coaches respected Sonny a lot too. So Kirby, he didn't fall too far from the tree on that one. But then again, man, being mentored by the greatest of all time in college is, yeah, you're right. And just to put this to rest, at least for me, in my opinion, anyway, I think if you look at the two greatest college football coaches to ever exist, they come from the same school.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah, and I grew up watching and admiring Paul Bear Bryant, and when I was a kid, man, he was bigger than life, kind of probably like Nick Saban is now for you or some of the other guys who are younger than you, maybe. But the difference in what Coach Bryant did, and he did a great job, both won 6 national championships, but the difference in what Coach Bryant did and what Coach Saban has done, you can't really compare those because
I don't think so.
They're different sports. Back then, for some of you guys who don't know, back then, Coach Bryant, Bear Bryant, would sign 20 or 125, 130 kids a year. He had not maybe not a year, but he would have 40 or 50 kids a year signed to scholarship. There were no limits on scholarships. You didn't have 85 scholarship limit. You know, they didn't have 130 kids on scholarship, and you couldn't transfer back then. You know, it was, you know, you went to a school, that was it. You know, you couldn't transfer, and a lot of times he would go out and get some of these players that were really, really good, just so his nemesis couldn't get them. You know, his rivals couldn't get them. So he would pull guys on his team, give them a scholarship, and they'd never play. But you know what? Georgia and Auburn and, you know, Mississippi State or LSU, whoever their rivals were, wouldn't be able to use them. A little bit different with Nick Saban. Plus, back then, you know, you only had a 10-game regular season and one game that was your bowl game, and you had sports writers that were awarding national champions. And Will, you pointed this out. I looked it up, and I forget what year it was. I'd have to go back in my notes and look, but it was like 1973 or something. I can't remember what year it was, but I think Alabama lost a couple games. They lost their bowl game.
I think it was one in the 40s. They were a 2-loss team, finished ranked, I think, number 20, and they claimed the national championship.
They claimed the national championship. Ranked number 20 in the nation in the AP. It still claimed the national
championship. Something to that effect. I may be wrong there.
Because some team or some sports writer somewhere, somebody who had, you know, credentials, awarded them national championship. So, you know, the AP didn't start until the mid to late 30s anyway, but yeah, there were several times where they were national champions, and there were, you know, probably 3 or 4 different other national champions out there. So
yeah.
What Saban has done, on the other hand, you know, he's won, I think, 5 he's won 5 at Alabama, right? I think he's won 6 total. Is that right? Anyway, one at LSU. He won 6. He's won. All right, Ken's telling me he's won 6 at Alabama. Okay.
One at LSU.
That was what I thought too.
Okay, I was thinking
Be
of 5.
wrong on the air though.
Several. But still, I mean, you had to play a 12-game regular season.
Yep.
Plus, you got a conference playoff game, and now you're going to have to win 2 playoff games against.
Yep.
Guess what? You're playing basically 3 playoff games against 3 great teams, probably top 5 teams. So, you know, it's a whole lot different now than it was when Coach Bryant coached. So hats off to Nick Saban. Hope he has a great retirement. Hope he just apparently he still has an office there in Tuscaloosa at the athletic complex. I don't know how long that's going to last, but you know, Kelly DeBoer can come in from Washington, take over the program.
I do not envy that man.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that's following the greatest guy, man. You want to be the guy after him.
I truly don't know why Kalen DeBoer took that job. It's probably money. I'd have to guess it has to be money because, like you said, that program is hemorrhaging players and recruits. Yeah. There's way more pressure on you at Alabama than there would be at Washington in the new Big Ten. Again, I have not looked at the contract details, but I'm just assuming they gave Kalen DeBoer a stupid amount of money because if that was me, I would not want that job.
I forget what the contract looked like, but I'll tell you this. He was on the hot seat as soon as he signed that contract.
Yes, the second that probably before the ink dried, he was on the hot seat at Alabama. Because I mean, there's been people, Alabama fans. I say fans. Some of y'all out there have been calling for Nick Saban's job for the past 2 years.
Yeah,
foolishness.
Yeah, I've heard them say, "Well, we need to change." Yeah.
Well, you got.
You
what
need
you
to change
for.
your opinion. What you need to change.
You got what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly. So, and since we're on the subject of Alabama, we'll get back on the subject of coaching movements in a minute. But you're talking about Alabama, and I'll kind of piggyback on what you said about something as a Georgia fan you've been looking forward to for a while, and that's the transfer portal with Alabama. The transfer portal has officially been renamed to the Alabama exit door because they have 30 players who have entered the transfer portal since it opened up, and when Nick Saban announced his retirement, some of you guys probably know, some may not, they have a 30-day window after the coach leaves to put their name in the portal, even if the portal's closed, which it was.
That's fair.
Yeah, so he gets, and it just opened up last week, so there's still opportunities for others to leave. But Julian Sand, who was the it depends on what recruiting.
He's a top 3 quarterback, for
sure.
Yeah,
definitely top 3 quarterback. I think he won the Elite 11 out there in California. But he decided he was already at Alabama, early enrolled. He's already at Ohio State now. He moved to Ohio State. Caleb Downs also went to Ohio State. Ohio State reportedly paid Caleb Downs $2 million or somewhere in that neighborhood to move. I don't know about Julian saying, but I'll guarantee there was some money, with that.
Very likely.
Yeah, Kalen Proctor, All-American freshman, All-American
That's good.
left tackle. I mean, the kid played left tackle, started left tackle every single game for Alabama as a true freshman. You're talking about somebody who's now I'm hearing the Alabama fans saying, well, it really wasn't all that. Well, of course you're going to say that now that he's leaving.
Oh, come on. Dude
but
was
he was
if I'm
all
not
that.
mistaken, dude was an all-conference.
Yeah. And they talked about how many sacks he gave up. Well, that's not really his fault.
He's the only good
Jalen
lineman on that.
Jalen Milroe didn't really have the pocket presence that he should have had. I don't think so.
I think he was the only good offensive lineman they had all year.
I don't know. Terrence Ferguson, who's also in the portal, he's actually committed to Florida State. He's leaving as well. Isaiah Bond went to Texas. That's a huge move. Jake Pope, one of the safeties, came to Georgia. All in all, like I said, 30 players leaving Alabama from the portal.
And counting.
Plus,
And counting.
And counting. Plus 11 underclassmen declared for the draft. And if I started reading those names off, you got guys like Kool-Aid. You got Terry Arnold, who's most likely going to be a first-round draft pick. And so 41 players and counting, like Will said. And that doesn't even count the seniors who are graduating. So what I'm trying to say is the Alabama roster will look substantially different come springtime.
That is going to be Alabama in name only next year.
Yeah. So that's it. And going back to Kalen Proctor, he's actually from Iowa. And he's going back to Iowa, going back home to Iowa to play for his home state team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, who incidentally are offensive linemen. That's OL University. So we're going to take another break. Again, this is the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. And we are live from the David Venable Studios. We're going to take 2 minutes. You guys stay tuned and we'll be back in 2. All right, welcome back to the XL College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Will, you and I were just talking about the
having a little
2024 Alabama football schedule. And we'll just go this game by game. And this is a way too early, guys, a way too early prediction. But we're having fun here. This is something that we're just going to have a little bit of fun with.
Absolutely.
So August 31st is the first game Alabama. They'll take on Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers.
Oh, Big Red, watch out for Big Red.
Yeah, the Hilltoppers. That's probably going to be just because of, even though they're losing a ton of people, still Alabama's going to have a substantially a bigger advantage in the roster with that.
They're looking at 35-10, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then they get to play USF, who they really struggled against last year in Tampa.
Yeah, monsoon.
Well, hey, come on, man. I don't hear no excuses, man. That was terrible. That was a terrible game. But I still think they'll win that game. Then they go to Wisconsin, and we're talking about this. We might need to look and go into that game.
I would not be opposed to it.
We might need to go to that game.
I'd love to jump around.
In Madison, I tell you what, that might be a very interesting game here. I don't know if you want to get into predictions of the games or not, but we'll just talk about the games. If you want to predict them, you go ahead.
I'll do it. I ain't afraid of bold takes. I know y'all like making fun of me on YouTube, and it's fine. You can do it again. I'll pick Wisconsin to win outright right now.
All right,
straight up.
All right, just
give me the Badgers straight up.
Just so that you guys all know, and I'm bragging on my boy here. 2 years ago, next month, were we on the air then?
I don't think so.
I can't remember if we were on the air there or not.
I don't think so.
Anyway, 2 years ago, next month in February, this man predicted that Vanderbilt would beat Florida. And I was like, oh, whatever. Vanderbilt beat Florida that year. So.
And then last year, my early call was I'm not putting this in that category. I just think it's fun. Last year, my early call was Mizzou beating Tennessee, and that one seemed pretty crazy too. It really did.
Hey man, Mizzou looks good. And they're looking better and better and better.
Scary.
After that Wisconsin game, they'll have a week off, and then they'll take on the Dogs.
They'll need every bit of that off week.
Georgia will be coming to Tuscaloosa. I'll guarantee there's going to be some revenge on the minds of those Dogs.
Well, we talking trash now. Can you imagine if Georgia loses that game?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! And then the Tide go to Vanderbilt. That should be a good game there. They should win that one. And then they take on South Carolina. Then they take on at Tennessee. That's going to be a
Rocky
great one.
Top. That stadium's going to be thumping.
Yes,
dude.
it is. Third Saturday in October. All right.
That's going to be a wild atmosphere, no doubt.
Then they come home and play the Missouri Tigers.
That's going to be a tough game for Alabama.
Yeah, it is going to be a tough game. Then they go on the road to LSU. I'll guarantee you, November 9th at LSU, that's going to be a 7:30 kickoff.
I think they're losing that game.
Yeah. Then they come on and play Mercer. Then they go on the road to play Oklahoma and Norman.
That's going to be a real
tough.
Well, we'll see.
And then the Iron Bowl at home. So
yeah,
really,
Iron Bowl is never easy.
If you look at it, they have two. The first two games are home games, which are non-conference cupcake games, really. And then Willis, they road at home. On the road, they never have consecutive games either on the road or at home.
I think they have two consecutive. Didn't you say it ended with two on the road?
Who?
No, they're playing Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa this year. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be at home this year.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. I know some people who are Alabama fans who will. Yeah, I might have to not talk to those guys just because they're going to be on Suicide Watch. Anyway,
again, y'all like hot takes. I'll give it to you, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. I think their ceiling's 8-4. I think their floor is 4, 5, and 7. So we'll see. I'm not saying they will go 5 and 7. I'm saying that's their floor. That's where they can go.
We were just
I think they'll probably go something in between 8-4 and 5 and 7. We'll see. If they do better than that, Kalen DeBoer did a fantastic job.
Yeah, that's true. We were talking in the commercial break about their over and under. I say the over and under is 8.5
and I'm
for wins.
the under.
I think it's probably going to be it. When we get later on into the off season, we'll start getting into some of that stuff, and that's probably what you'll see from the guys out in Vegas. Probably 8.5, I would imagine. I don't think it's going to be more than that. All right, more news. Jim Harbaugh has decided to leave Michigan. Probably a good time to leave.
Yeah.
He's going to the Los Angeles Chargers. His replacement names have come up that I've seen: Matt Rule, Brian Kelly.
That one's interesting.
Yeah, that would be an interesting move. And then within Coach Moore, who was incidentally coached half the home games this year.
Kenny coached half the season this year.
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting to see what happens with that. I think that Michigan is probably going to, a rebuilding season. I think is probably a good way to put it. They're definitely not going to have the talent and the continuity this year coming up as they've had. J.J. McCarthy's leaving to go to the portal. Not the portal, the NFL draft. Blake Corum's going to the draft. I don't think I've heard about Donovan Edwards.
I have not heard recently either.
Yeah, a lot of those defensive players are going to be going. So that's there's going to be that. I think if you're an Ohio State fan, looking at the additions they have, and then looking at what's going on with the Badgers. Not the Badgers, the Wolverines over there. What they call the team from up north. You may be excited this year to see what's going to happen. So.
You may be excited or maybe nervous. I tell you, we kind of, it's half a joke, it's half not, said that Kalen DeBoer is in the hot seat. There is not a hotter seat than Ryan Day right now.
Which is very interesting because before the bowl season, he had lost 6 games in his career. Now he's lost 7. 6 games in his career, but 3 of those 6 are to Michigan, to the team from up north.
Well, yeah. just looking at it, the past 3 years, you have not been able to get past Michigan after dominating them for the better part of 2 decades.
Right.
Now that team is, like you said, is looking to potentially take a step back. Probably going to have to reload, figure some things out in the coaching staff, and you, in the meantime, are retaining, as far as I know, all of your important coaching pieces.
Yeah.
You're gaining a lot of talent in the portal. Caleb Downs is good. You're going to enjoy him, Columbus. I promise you will.
He's an All-American.
He's legit.
He's not a freshman All-American. He is an All-American All-American.
He's for real. Sayin is going to push Aaron Nolan. That's going to be a great quarterback battle to watch. Quinshon Judkins is a good running back. I tell you what, though, if you have all of this going for you and everything going against everyone else, and you still lose, not to Michigan, just the conference. If you don't win the conference next year, Ryan Day's probably going to lose his job, especially in the new Big Ten. With Dan Lanning is coming. He is coming.
That's it.
He is a great coach. That is a great team.
It's not Michigan they got to worry about this year. No, it's Oregon.
Don't let Oregon sneak up on you, because I promise you they'll make you pay for it. That if I had to pick a team to win the Big Ten right now, I'm picking Oregon. I think Dan Lanning's a great coach. He has built that. I mean, it's already a great program, but he has built that into something that can contend for a national title next year. If I had to pick a playoff team, that is a lock. I'm picking Georgia and them next year, and that's probably about it right now.
Yeah, that definitely.
Don't let Oregon sneak up on you, Ohio State. Don't take them lightly. They'll make you pay for it.
Now that you brought it up, we got a few more minutes. We're going to talk about this. Now that you brought it up, the conference realignment is really interesting.
Especially
we'll get into
playoff
predictions.
Coming in too.
What's that?
Especially with the new playoff system coming in next year too.
Yeah, exactly. Which is,
it's going.
I can't wait to see how that's going to end up changing, because the Pac-12 is no longer.
It's going to be a wild year for college football. We got realignment, new playoff system, no Nick Saban. It's going to look totally different.
It really is. We'll get into conference championship predictions coming up. Probably after spring, spring practice. We'll take a look at that. Probably make that maybe closer to the first part of the summer, maybe, hopefully. But that's looking ahead of 2024. Really exciting for.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and there's something I was talking to my dad about this. It's something that I don't know how they'll get around this. I think there used to be a rule that you could only play one bowl game per year, but next year the college football playoff is set up to have, of course, the 6 highest rated conference champions will be in, and then the next 6 highest rated house ranked teams will be in. That's how they're going to come up with 12. But the way it's done, the way it's set up, is there's going to be a 4-team, the top 4 conference champions. The top 4 ranked conference champions get a bye. So you could be ranked number 3 in the nation, but you're not a conference champion however that would come out. But you wouldn't have a bye. But just the top 4 conference champions get a bye.
And tough luck, Notre Dame. Sorry, guys. Won't.
What was that?
I said, sorry, Notre Dame.
Yeah, exactly. You better get into it. Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to play a playoff game. I mean, So, but then the other 8 teams will play a home. The lowest seed team will get a home game, and then from there, the quarterfinals are going to be, for this year coming up, it's going to be the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. So you'll have the quarterfinal games, and then for the semifinals, you get to play the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. So it is. I mean, you're going to have 2 teams out there that are going to win 2 major bowl games, which used to be called the New Year's Six games, which I think we'll probably still call them that. But you're going to have somebody's inevitably going to be the Sugar Bowl champion and the Cotton Bowl champion, presumably, or the Orange and the Peach or whatever. And then they got the national championship game in Atlanta, which is really cool. Hopefully Georgia can make that. But really interesting how they're going to do that. What's your take on it?
We'll see. I have my thoughts and feelings on the 12-team playoff. I don't have all my thoughts collected right now, but I've thought the system was kind of stupid from the beginning. I think that they're like, we fixed it, just like they did with the 4-team playoff. I don't think it's fixed. I think you've kind of changed where your problems are, and I think you're going to change the people who complain, but I don't think it's fixed. I mean, we saw it the past 3 years, really. The best team in the country won all 3 times. So, I mean, if we're looking at it, who would have been a team that potentially could have, let's see, all the conference champions this year were pretty good. So what would have been the 6th conference champ? I don't know. A group of 5 team, maybe SMU. SMU makes the playoff as a top 12 seed. Yeah. I don't think they should have competed for a national championship this year. I don't think they deserved a chance to. I don't think Cincinnati deserved to a couple of years ago, quite frankly, but they did. No. So, it is what it is. Again, we're going to get the same amount of football. I don't know that it's going to be any better quality football. I don't know that the opt-out issue is fixed. We're going to see. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to see what happens. But again, I don't think any problems are solved, and we'll see going forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. There are going to be other problems. Definitely, it's going to come up. I think. I don't know. It's really a stretch if you're the 13th team in the nation to say, I think we could win a national
stretch
championship.
if you're the 8th team.
Yeah, I mean, this year really there was only just a few teams. 5, 6 teams maybe that
You
could.
telling me Missouri should have competed for one this year? I disagree.
Yeah, well, no, but exactly.
They will next year.
We're going to take another commercial break and come back and do a couple things, and then we're going to show you guys a video. You are listening to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Be back in 2 minutes. Stay. All right, welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5. We're just talking about maybe a way too early top 5 next year, and Will's talking about Texas. Yeah, I do think Texas is going to be.
It's funny.
Back.
You've been the Texas guy all year, and I had to remind you they existed.
Well, you know why I was a Texas guy. I mean, but just a reminder, I told you earlier we're going to have some videos of the Steakhouse Restaurant videos where we were with the coaches at a coaching luncheon. I guess as a coaches and a media luncheon. I'm not coaching anymore. I'm part of the media now, I guess. But Ken's going to show some of that video, and you guys enjoy that. Some talking back and forth. Anyway, so we'll have that.
Check it out on YouTube at the XL Sports Network YouTube channel. You can watch the video cut in right here as we're talking about it. So.
Start with it. We kind of added to the situation earlier in the week that way. Coach Gentry said, if this game's tight late and we need to stop the clock, we got to have somebody that can get a cramp. So Johnny Richardson hit the ground in practice. He was yelling and screaming, holding his leg. And Coach said, you're overdoing it, but you got the job. And I'm telling y'all, we put it in that week. And we go over there and time's running out. And we're down by a point.
Need a field goal or something.
He did a field goal. So Johnny dropped the ground. Well, we didn't realize that when he hit the ground, there was 15 seconds on the clock. So once they got him up and moving, they started running the clock. We got the guy there in the last second, right before the buzzer went off. He kicked it up and it went through that right, and we got the field goal and won the ball game. Well, their fans started coming out of the stands and their players started coming after us. We got escorted to the bus 2 at a time. Now it's still a little bit of a controversy over there. The older guys that I know, they swear that Johnny Rickerson, number 72, is the one that had the cramp and kicked the field goal. I said, no. It was our quarterback, Vince Hewitt, that kicked the field goal. they still swear better.
That's right. Thank you, Will. You can also catch us live on the xlsportsnetwork.net. Click listen live if you want to check us out on our online
website
and on the website. And again, like Will said, the YouTube channel, the XL Sports Network. Like, subscribe. There should be some stuff posted on there. This will be posted on there, I guess, today or tomorrow, this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon. So you guys can go back and watch this again. Will, we got a few minutes to talk about some things. What else do you want to talk about? There's a lot to talk about.
Last block in the show. I think we're just having a little fun with top teams for next year. So I know we talked about. I'm going to sound like a homer here, but I fully expect Georgia to be a good team, if not the best team, and I'm trying to look at it objectively too. I think just going into it, odds on teams were Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama and Michigan have since seen some change-ups. We'll say it that
Very
way.
much so.
So I
at every level,
yes,
at every level, leadership and roster and everything. Yeah.
So I think Georgia's going to be, I'd be shocked if they weren't preseason number one. They may give the nod to Michigan just out of respect. I don't know, but they're preseason top 2 for sure. I think Ohio State's probably going to be up there just because of expectation.
Yeah.
And potential and their talent. Again, I said Oregon. I think Oregon is going to be a really, really, really good team next year. I'll pick them to make the playoff. That doesn't say anything anymore because they're going to be a top 12 team for sure. But I you want a hot take? I'll give it to you. I think Oregon's probably going to win the Big Ten. You want to pick? I'll pick it right now. I reserve my right to change that as information unfolds, though. But my pick for January for what's going to happen in December, yes, is Oregon. I think, again, like I said, Ohio State. Like I had to remind you, I think Texas might do something. They are going to be in the SEC, so I don't think they're going to be a conference champ. But I think, funny enough, who is going to benefit most from all this conference realignment is the ACC. I think they make it back to the playoff again. At Florida State, we're going to see what they look like. I think that Norvell proved, to me at least this year, that he is a good coach. I don't know what, again, their quarterback situation is going to look like because, goodness gracious, Travis is gone. And I'm pretty sure Rodmaker is in the portal.
Yeah,
he left.
He is. Yeah.
So they're going to have to figure out a quarterback. I think they're losing a few skill positions too, but they are bringing some talent in the portal. So maybe them. I was big on Clemson this year. I may pick Clemson next year, but I think that they probably have the best chance. We'll see if they can clean up some of their issues. They ended hot this year, but we'll see if they can figure out some things to start off better next year. Maybe don't lose to Duke. That'd be embarrassing if they lost to Duke next year. Good gracious. I think the most interesting conference by far is going to be the Big 12.
Yeah.
By far. Utah's going to be good. I tell you what, all the hate I got, which is fun because I wasn't jumping on the bandwagon, and then the bandwagon emptied. Y'all watch out for Colorado. Watch out. I tell you what, the more I hear,
if he's off his line, he might be good.
He got plenty of guys. Whether they're good or not, we'll see. But he got plenty of guys. The more I hear Deion talk, the more I like what he says. Again, I got a bunch of hate for saying they're going to lose last year, and I think rightfully so. I predicted that they would lose, and they won games they shouldn't have, and then lost games they should have won, like Stanford. What the heck was that? But I think Colorado's going to make that interesting. I think they may be the betting favorite to win, just because of Deion. I mean, that man carries some weight. But like you said, I think Utah, with Cam Rising as a senior citizen now, I think he's collecting Social Security, going to be playing for Utah. That's probably going to do them some good. I think Oklahoma State was kind of lucky this year. I know Ollie Gordon's coming back, but I don't expect them to be able to replicate that 2 weeks of success they had, where people were calling him Barry Sanders. I think some of the lower teams your UCF that did surprisingly, you can say, well, I guess, this year. I didn't expect them to play as well as they did. I think you may have some Kansas State, Avery Johnson. I know Will Howard's gone, but Avery Johnson's a good quarterback. I think that's going to be the most entertaining conference to me coming up next year. I think Big Ten's going to be probably a close second. SEC obviously is going to be good. The Pac-2, I probably won't watch any of those games. I'll just watch the Mountain West. But bringing up Deion Sanders and kind of going full circle with the whole Nick Saban thing, is Nick Saban still going to be in those Aflac commercials? I'm curious.
I'm sure.
We're going to keep him in there. Okay.
I mean, he's got to be able to pay the bills. You know, I mean, I'm sure that
that man's got $50 million in his bank account right now.
$50 million.
Probably more than that.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Goodness.
He's probably got $50 million in his mattress. But yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting with the conference realignments. I think there's a lot of doom and gloom surrounding people saying, "Oh, college football is not the same sport anymore. It's all coming apart." I'm excited. I think NIL the past few years has led to more parity. I think the transfer portal has, by and large, been a good thing because good players play and bad players don't have a home and they go play at Incarnate Ward. No shade there. But if you're a good player, you'll find somewhere to go and you'll play. If you're not, you'll get relegated to an FCS team.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. If not, you may go to D2, D3. But again, that's the risk you run by putting your name in the portal. You go from what's that kind of stupid cartoon joke? You go from number 2 on the depth chart to number 13,000 with however many people they have in the portal, whatever. So again, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited about the movement with the players and the coaches and the teams too. I will choose to be excited about the extended playoff that I think happened way too quickly and way too soon. If they want to extend it, I think they should have gone to 6, not 12. But It is what it is.
8 would have been good, I thought.
We'll see. But again, I'm excited about the good teams being good and potential surprise teams playing well. Like you said, you thought Mizzou might have a good year. I'm high on Mizzou. I'm high on Drink. I think he's a good coach. I think it's going to be a good team again next year. They might make a run at the playoff too. We'll see. Who knows?
Very well could. So I'm looking at the Texas schedule, and they've got a decent schedule.
It's difficult.
Yeah, they start the season against Colorado State.
Ooh, they better watch out. They might get their liver lacerated. Oh.
Then they go to Ann Arbor.
They're going to
play
win
Michigan.
That game. They're going to win that game.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they still got to go on the road to play in a hostile
They're
environment.
going to win that game. If they don't, I don't want to hear Texas is back. They're gone again.
Then they play the Roadrunners.
They should win that game.
Then they got UL Monroe.
They're winning that
and
game.
Here it goes. Then they got Mississippi State.
They're going to win that game.
Okay. Then they got the what do you call it? River Rivalry. Sorry.
I think Oklahoma is one of the most interesting teams going into next year because they were riding high at one point and then they finished kind of disappointingly this year. And now Dylan Gabriel's gone, so I don't know what that team's going to be next year. I think they got a good coach.
I think they're going to be a lot better than people are going to expect them to be. I think.
I would say that if they were staying in the Big 12, but they're joining the SEC, so I think they're going to have a lot stiffer competition. And again, I don't know that they're pulling in a lot of good players in the portal. I don't know what this recruiting class looks like, so I think they may take kind of a step back again next year. I don't think they're going to be a 10-win team.
1 week after the Red River rivalry is Georgia coming to town.
They're going to lose that game.
October the 19th, ladies and gentlemen, if you're college football fans, especially SEC fans, you need to be. If anybody decides they're going to get married on that day, my son's getting married. I think he's talking. And if you pick October 19th, I'm sorry, son, I'm not going to be there. October the 19th,
have a morning wedding.
Goes to Texas. Alabama goes to Tennessee.
That's going to be,
that's going to be insane.
It's going to be a night game, probably.
Yeah. Do what?
I said that Alabama game's going to be a night game, probably.
Probably will.
Because there's no longer 3:30 on CBS. So.
Yeah. And then they got Vanderbilt. Then they got Florida.
That's going to be interesting. I don't think that Florida will win, but no, it's not going to be interesting. No, they're going to beat Florida.
Yeah, well, they're playing in Florida and at home. So
yeah, no, Florida's going to be terrible next year.
And they go to Arkansas, and who knows where Arkansas is going to win next year?
Arkansas doesn't know what Arkansas. I don't think they're going to be good though.
Kentucky. What's Kentucky going to look like next year?
Kentucky's going to be an interesting one. I got them in the same pot with Oklahoma. I think they're going to be they could be good, they could be bad. We'll see.
Yeah.
Again, I think Stoops' ceiling's 8-4. He's good for that every year.
And they finished A&M, who's going to bring back the rivalry.
Yes,
I love
this.
I love
one of my favorite things about the realignment. A&M and Texas are going to be playing every year again. I love it.
And Kyle Field, that's going to be good.
Ooh.
Kyle Field.
I like Mike Elko. That defense has some talent.
And
if they can bring in some good offensive firepower,
at that point,
be a good game.
Yeah, at that point, they're going to have the whole season behind them, and who knows what they'll look like. My way too early. And this is top 5. This is not in any order at all. And this is just me throwing some teams out there. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and I think Ole Miss is going to look good this year. Again, not necessarily in that order. I think you're right. I think Oregon may win that That may win the Big Ten.
The new Big Ten and now has
Big Ten,
27
yeah.
teams.
And but we'll get into all that later on. We are at the end of our hour, man. Shit, Lord, it's so quick.
Time flies when you're talking college football.
I'm telling you, I love it. All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate you guys listening to us. Sorry that we took a month off, but some of the things that we just couldn't control, family members being in the hospital, was really kind of tough. So, but we'll try to get back on a regular schedule. But you have been listening to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. For Will, my buddy, for Ken on the boards, this is Chuck. We're going to sign off. See you guys next Thursday.